Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday Night Nonfiction Book Club. Gosh, my collar's messed up. Uh, Welcome. If you're new, I would love it if you would subscribe and share this with other people. What we do is on Monday evenings, we take a book, and this has been a fantastic book. Uh, we've been going at it now for almost 4 months because it is so chock full of great information. And I add a little bit to it, but this is a must-have book for your library. I tell you, this is one of those ones that's going to be a secret on your shelf that's going to help you through most everything you need. I've got it highly tabbed, it is just a great book. And so we're going to go through only two questions tonight. The only other one that's gotten this kind of attention was when we did nuclear Armageddon type stuff during his nuclear chapter or question. I did that one question in 1 hour. Tonight, we're going to do two questions in 1 hour because the second question only takes about 10 minutes. No, 2 minutes. The first question I have spent a lot of time just digging up facts and looking at stuff that online, that being projectionist in the sense of anticipating what's going to happen in the future. What can we do to prevent it? What can we do to treat it? Just, gosh, what a great amount of information I have discovered for you. So let's start off by welcoming everybody here. And I see that Patricia Butler beat Scott Hummer here tonight. Welcome to both of you. Aldo Schmadak, I recognize that name. We have chatted before. Where was that? On New York Preppers site, I believe. I'm not really 100% sure, but I recognize the name. L-Dog, good evening. Welcome. Let me see who else. Rusty Sarge, that's a new name for me. But I'm senile too, so I may have forgotten last week or something. L-Dog, Scott Hummer, Patricia Butler. I'm showing that we have 12 people on here right now, but not that many in the chat. Who else? Prepper for the Ages, good evening. Welcome. Theoxorus, good evening, and welcome to you as well. Little Lone Prepper, and yeah, so we've got 9 on. Somebody dropped off. I guess they didn't like the fact that I have to look out of the bottom of my bifocals to see. But anyhow, good evening, everybody. Welcome, and so happy that you're here with us. Let's tackle this question because, gosh, do I have a lot of information for you. So question number 117. No, it's not. It's 115. I had my bookmark on the wrong side. What causes the most deaths from severe injuries and illnesses? Mr. Jones says hypovolemic shock, which plays a major role in the death of victims in severe external and internal bleeding, large area burns, and many communicable diseases. I just started doing all kinds of research, and I said, okay, if we have an SHTF event, and let's say we lose electrical power, and that's going to set us back basically to the lifestyle we had in the late 19th century, 1880s, 1890s, even up through the 1900s. We didn't get rural electrification until the 1920s. So rural electrification wasn't there until the 20s. So we probably had urban electrification maybe in the 1890s, 1900s. So what happens if we go back to that point in time as far as no electricity? What were the most common causes of death in the 1890s? And that's probably what we'd be going back to. So I asked AI, ChatGPT, I said, hey, tell me, what were the most common causes of death back in the 1890s? So I've got 15 pages here, believe it or not, of information, because ChatGPT and I just got into this conversation. I said, well, if that's the case, what about, and what if? And just kept asking all kinds of questions. So basically, we're going to use that as a rubric this evening to go through the conversation I had with it. So I said, It says, if you use the late 19th century U.S. as a baseline, a sudden prolonged grid down collapse in 2026 would likely push mortality rate patterns back towards infectious disease and trauma, but with some modern twists. It broke it down into three distinct parts. Number one, what deaths dominated in the late 1800s. Number two, where burns and infections ranked historically. And number three, what a post-grid 2026 scenario would look like in comparison. So, late 19th century, number one cause of death was tuberculosis. Number two, pneumonia. Number three, diarrheal diseases. Number four, typhoid fever. So most of those are going to be bacterial related, okay? Remember, we didn't really have really good antibiotics until penicillin came along early in the 20th century, okay? So without antibiotics, we would be returning back to these bacterial infections. That would be the number one cause of death. Number five, childhood infections. Remember, now we're not going to have all of the prophylactic immunizations that we now have. We give DPT and all these other shots, injections to our children as they're born and go through the education system. Those won't be available. So because of that, we'll see a resurgence of measles, diphtheria, scarlet fever. Then we will also have a lot of childbirth complications. We'll go back to the same childbirth stats that we had in the 1890s. And believe it or not, childbirth in the 1890s was the second major cause of death for females, not the first. The first was still burning because they had long flowing dresses, and a lot of the hearts in the homes, in the rural homes. And remember, at this point, the United States is still 70% rural, okay? So they had the open hearth, and charcoal or coals would be out on the open hearth. A woman's dress would touch the charcoal or the coal, ignite, and more women died of burns and infections as a result of burns than died as a result of childbirth. So then the next one would be accidents. The leading cause of accidents was railroads, and then farm accidents and mining accidents, and then finally there was war deaths. Then it's attributing that to residual people dying from wounds as a result of the Civil War 30 years earlier. It highlights something here for us. It says, in most cities, infectious disease accounted for almost 50% of all deaths. That's kind of, Already Magazine, good evening. How are you? And, but anyhow, so that's kind of interesting. Where was I? I've lost my train of thought. Let me get back to my train of thought. So infectious disease accounted for 30 to 50% of all deaths. So infections beyond tuberculosis, infections were the dominant category of death in the late 19th century. Wound infections were extremely dangerous. Minor injuries would become fatal due to sepsis. Surgical mortality was still high because antiseptic methods had not yet spread after the discovery by Joseph Lister. And pneumonia was still a leading cause of death and called the old man's friend because it commonly ended lives. Before the invention of antibiotics, primarily starting with the sulfa drugs and later penicillin, simple infections were frequently lethal. So let's take a look at post-apocalyptic 2026. How would it compare? The nice thing I really like about ChatGPT is that it divided it into two. You know how I am. I'm one of those guys that when we start talking about SHTF and you start talking about this or that won't be important or won't be a barter item or will be a barter item or whatever, I always say two things. Number one, what is the scenario we're talking about? I want to know your assumption. And number two, where are we in the timeline? Because a lot of prioritization of barter items or the importance of survival items are highly dependent upon the scenario. The second thing is a lot of those barter items are highly dependent, their value is highly dependent upon where are we in the timeline of that scenario. So the one thing that I really like here is that it gave us a scenario. It says kind of the first couple weeks to months, and then it goes on to say, hello, love son, good evening and welcome. Good to see you. But then it goes on to say, okay, after the first 3 months and then going on. And then it says, then if we take a look back after it's all over, what overall, over the whole course of the SHTF event, would it have been? So it gives us 3 different sets of data to analyze and to look at. So the first couple of weeks to the first couple of months, leading causes, number 1 will be trauma. That'll be by violence and by accidents. So, it's taking into account here that people are going to be aggressive in getting things that they need and want, to include food, medications, etc. You want to avoid those situations. Number 2 will be untreated chronic disease. Those are going to be things like dialysis patients, type 1 diabetics who are dependent upon insulin. So those people who are dependent upon either electrical medical devices or are dependent upon medications, especially those that have to be refrigerated or will not be manufactured as a result of no electricity, that's going to be the number 2 cause of death. Number 3 cause of death is going to be dehydration. And number 4 is acute medical crisis. And that is the things that we can take care of now. You have a heart attack, you call an ambulance, they have a defibrillator, they can get some IV into you that's going to stimulate your heart. We've got some medications they put under your tongue. All these different things that an EMT can do to either revive you or resuscitate you or keep you alive until you get to an emergency room where they can treat you. That will not be available to us. So some of those acute things, stroke, heart attack, those types of things, those will become almost 100% fatal, whereas today they are far less than that. I saw somebody say hello to somebody that I didn't recognize. Let me see. Utah Mike, good evening. Okay, so sorry. Just trying to catch up with the chat there. We have some great people. Gosh, the chat gets good. And I miss it 99% of the time, and I shouldn't. So phase 2, okay? This is where patterns are going to resemble the late 1800s a lot more. We're going to see number 1 cause of disease is going to be waterborne illness. So cholera, dysentery, things like that. People drinking contaminated water. And also going to be sanitation problems. That's going to cause dysentery. So, the simple thing you can do to prevent dysentery is wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. There may not be that much soap that people have stored up. And so that's going to be number 2 cause of death. Number 3 cause of death, especially in the winter, is going to be pneumonia. That is so easily treated right now with all of the antibiotics that we have. With the absence of antibiotics in a post-apocalyptic world, especially in winter, pneumonia is going to take the number 3 spot. Number 4 is going to be skin infections that turn septic. And that can be all different kinds of things. That can be psoriasis that you scratch. That can be a scratch, an itch, a small cut that gets infected, just not cleansing yourself on a regular basis and having dirty contaminations on your body all the time. 5th place is going to be a resurgence of tuberculosis, which is currently very well controlled. A lot of great medications right now for the control of tuberculosis. You never really get rid of it. We really have not found a medication to eradicate it. However, we can control it. When I was the HR director at the homeless shelter, we had to undergo TB testing every 6 months because there was a very high infection rate among the homeless. And, so that could cause us to be exposed to it as well. As a matter of fact, I spent 3 weeks in ICU in 2015 because I was exposed to MRSA pneumonia in the elevator. So one of the homeless persons in the elevator with me had MRSA pneumonia and coughed, and I caught it and spent 3 weeks in ICU as a result of it. Now, the good thing about that, my lungs are still paying for it. You'll hear me cough and everything for quite a while. But one of the good things about it is I went in a smoker and came out a non-smoker. So kind of tough to smoke when you're on an intubator for 3 weeks. But anyhow, so tuberculosis resurges. And then finally, in the last place, are going to be measles and other vaccine-preventable diseases once the immunization system collapses. So key differences from the 19th century to the 2026 collapse. Let me see. Wow, really? Fioxtra says that when they were at Dallas County Hospital, they PPD tested every 3 months, whereas I was every 6 months, 22 times the national average incident rate there. A very high exposure rate. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's tough, man. And there's only two ways you can do it. You can either do an x-ray or you can do a blood test. And right now, the standard thing, we were doing blood draws. So we would have an every 6 month blood draw. But and then secondary to that, if your blood draw came back positive, then you went in for an x-ray. But it was something else. So that's going to be on the rise. Okay. And that's what killed Doc Holliday, by the way. Okay. Key differences from the 19th century. So modern vulnerabilities in the post-2026 post-collapse. Millions rely on daily pharmaceuticals that will not be manufactured any longer or that require refrigeration, and the refrigeration won't be available. Those people without their medications will most likely succumb to whatever the chronic disease is that they currently are being treated for. Number two, complex chronic diseases will be extremely chronic. So you're going to succumb to more than just one at a time. Good example, okay, my MRSA pneumonia plus asthma plus emphysema, all lung related, but that can cause other things in the long term. Because, believe it or not, almost every medication that you take one medication to take care of one illness, and it actually has side effects that may, at some point in your life, require another medication to counter the side effects of the medication you're taking for your primary illness. And so that kind of just goes, wow, crazy. Massive chronic diseases or complex chronic diseases are common. Number three, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes will be widespread, just like they were. They're going to be more widespread because they are at a higher rate today than they were in the 1800s. So our country wasn't quite as obese in the late 1800s as it is now. We didn't have as much cardiovascular disease as a result of our diet or as a result of smoking or other things, ingested recreational drugs and things like that, that have basically reduced our overall ability to fight off bacterial or viral infections. In the 1800s, fewer people survived long enough to develop chronic disease. So the implication there is that if we return to an 1800s type of medical system and disease awareness and disease exposure, that means that our current life expectancy is going to take a sudden dramatic drop. So we can't expect to stay along as well for as long as we do now. Life expectancy would be greatly shortened. Hey, Kaylin, good evening. Welcome. Good to see you. So Patricia Butler is talking about PPE, personal protective equipment, and she's absolutely right. I'm going to get into that here in a little bit, but highlight her statement because she is absolutely 100% correct. That's going to be extremely, extremely important. So our population is going to skew younger as a result of not having the same longevity as we have been enjoying with modern medical care. In a collapse scenario, many chronic illnesses and chronic illness deaths will happen earlier. So mortality is going to skew towards infection, malnutrition. That's a new one for us that we haven't seen here in the 20th century at the high levels that we will see in a post SHTF environment. Trauma appears once again. Now, remember, trauma is not just gunshot wounds. It can also be such things as your axe slipping while you're trying to chop wood and a severe gash to your leg, or an attempted amputation, self-amputation because of carelessness with a sharp implement while you're chopping wood or something like that. It could be not being wise as far as how you are handling tree felling or how you're handling splitting of wood. And then all of a sudden you have wood exploding or falling in the wrong direction and crush wounds. So those types of traumas are also going to be very, very common in a post-SHTF world. So long-term, we took a look at phase 1, which was the first 3 months, phase 2, 3 months after. So now let's take a look at it. Let's say that this is a 30-year thing, this SHTF and recovery. Then at the end of the 30 years, if we take a look back, what are going to be the greatest sources of death? So we're going to see number 1, infectious disease. And we're going to divide that into 2 parts. Part 1A is going to be waterborne infectious disease. Part 1B is going to be respiratory infectious disease. So that's going to be where we're in close proximity with somebody else who has the disease. And there's a cough, sputum. We transmit the disease from one person to another through that exhalation. That's going to be things like tuberculosis and cholera and those types of influenza. All those different types of airborne diseases are going to be number 2 within that major category of infectious diseases. I'm reading Little Known Prepper's comment about lack of fresh water will take out a lot in less than a week, especially the elderly or ones with physical limitations who can't gather for themselves. Absolutely correct. Number 2 is going to be pneumonia, which is basically another respiratory disease. Number 3 is going to be diarrheal issues, and that's going to be from sanitation related primarily. Number 4 will be malnutrition related disease. Number 5 will be trauma and violence. Number 6 will be burn injuries. It'll be higher than the 1800s. And the reason is because, remember, if you look back from prehistoric times up through the 1800s, we consistently taught people how to gather firewood, how to treat it, how to start a fire and everything else. And still it was a major cause of death. Right now, we have gas and electric stoves in our homes. Our homes are not built around a fireplace, okay? So we don't have the fireplaces now that they had back in the 1890s that were used for both home heat as well as for cooking. So we're going to have to reincorporate those back into our homes. And so we may see a lot of the modern homes being torn down, added to, revamped in order to accommodate fireplaces so that we can cook and so that we can stay warm in the winter. Where was I? Okay, number 7 is going to be maternal mortality. So once again, we're getting back to that thing where we aren't going to have labor and delivery wards. We aren't going to have OBGYNs able to do some of the magic that they do. We aren't going to have a lot of the medications that we now use in childbirth. So we're going to see the maternity-related mortality go up. One of those, let's talk about A very common one is going to be gestational diabetes. So we won't have any way to identify, let alone treat gestational diabetes. And that's going to have a very high toll, both on the mother and if she survives it, on the child who will have their blood will be consumed by the same type of gestational diabetes. So that's going to have a problem as well. So infectious, where was I? Okay, so untreated chronic disease will be in the last place, in 8th place. So the bottom line is that in a prolonged grid down event, infectious disease is going to again become the leading killer in the United States. Burn deaths are going to increase compared to modern times. They'll approach but not surpass infectious disease death. Simple wound infections will become life-threatening again. Early mortality would spike from chronic disease and infrastructure failure, something the 19th century did not face at the same scale that we will. So just think, a lot of us old codgers, it'll be a lot younger world. We'll just kind of be gone because we won't have the medications. Hello, Pete. Welcome. Good evening. Good to see you. And Pete has a lot of experience in this area, so he can definitely add in to what I'm speaking. So thank you for being here, Pete. So the bottom line, in a prolonged grid down event, infectious disease will again become the leading killer. Number 2, burn deaths will increase to 2nd place. Simple wound infections will become life-threatening again, and probably in 3rd place. And early mortality will spike from chronic disease and infrastructure failures. So I said, okay, ChatGPT, if that's the case, what can I, as a preparedness-minded person, do today to prepare myself for this eventuality? Are there things that I can stock that will help me in mitigating the overall exposure or the overall acuity of these diseases? And he said, sure, there's some over-the-counter medications you need to stock. So it says acetaminophen and Tylenol, ibuprofen and non-steroid anti-inflammatories. So that's NSAIDs. For allergies and antihistamines, you'll need diphenhydramine, Benadryl, loratadine, and citrazine, which are non-drowsy allergy relief pills. For gastrointestinal, you're going to need loperamide, which is Imodium, an antidiarrheal. So you're going to need antidiarrheals. Oral rehydration salts. So, liquid IV and those other types of liquid hydration things that you can get. You're going to need plenty of those. And that's going to be to prevent dehydration from diarrhea, which is the number 1 cause of death if you have diarrhea. Then antacids, Tums, Pepto-Bismol, those types of things. I tell you, I found something. When I was in Korea, let me see if Helen put it up already. Yeah, she put it up. When I was in Korea, the Koreans have a ginger chew that they use. And I'll tell you what, that's the best thing I've ever taken as far as an antacid. So we buy these ginger chews on Amazon. We used to buy them at the Whole Foods market that was next door to the store that we owned. And but we don't go there that often anymore. That's about 20 miles away. So, but I will tell you, ginger chews do a fantastic job of controlling antacid. Okay, topical first aid. Remember, it said that cuts and scrapes are going to become infectious, become septic, and that's going to be a cause of death as well. So how do you do that? Wound wash. Make sure you cleanse the wound. Soap, water. Get some saline wound wash. Neosporin antibiotic ointment. Just cover that wound once you get it clean with the antibiotic ointment. Get triple antibiotic ointment. Get Denerex bacitracin zinc ointment. all kinds of great antibiotic ointments, topical ointments that you can put on wounds. They're going to prevent any kind of septic reaction to that wound. For respiratory support, you're going to need cough suppressants and expectorants, saline nasal sprays, and eye washes. I want to go back to the gastrointestinal real quick. It doesn't mention it, but one of the things I tell you, when you start eating your MREs, when you start eating your freeze-dried foods, your dehydrated foods, when you start living off of canned foods, it does a job on your gut. Now, I can speak to canned foods because the old Meal Combat Individual, MCI, we called it CRATs back at the time, but CRAT is any combat ration. But anyhow, those all came in cans. And it's going to do one of two things to you, okay? It's either going to open that spigot completely up and you're just going to drain and you're going to need all kinds of anti-diarrheal in reaction to living off of canned foods, or it's going to do the opposite and you're going to need some sort of medication to help you flush your body because it's just going to pack up like a solid concrete ball in your gut and you've got to get rid of that. So I'm going to say that we need to also, under gastrointestinal, not just the anti-diarrheals, but you also may want to have some sort of a laxative to assist you. Your gut is going to go through changes like you've never seen before once you start changing how you eat. And so be prepared for that. That can cause you major problems either way, either too tight or too loose. So back to respiratory support, cough suppressants and expectorants, dextromethorphan and guaifenesin, I guess. And then saline nasal sprays and eye washes. You've seen, I have the spray bottles, the nasal wash bottles that I get every time I go to get my allergy shots. They're out there for free. I pick one up and I probably have a couple dozen of them stored in the bathroom. And each one comes with like a half dozen saline solutions. So you're actually getting a saline wash of your nasal cavity. And those are great. Fantastic. Get those. Helen prefers the pressurized ones. I think I forget the name of it, but there's one company that makes the pressurized. It's in a can, and it has a little toggle on it, and you put it in your nose, and it kind of blasts everything up there. I prefer controlling the pressure myself by hand. Eye wash and eye drops, liquid eye drops, antihistamine eye drops, those types of things. Absolutely. Burn and skincare. For minor burns, get aloe vera gel. Let me tell you something. Study up on how to treat burns. Study when you use burn gels, when all you do is debride a little bit and make sure that you cover it with the sterile, non-sticking gauze dressing. We used to call them Telfa pads. They may still be called that. But you want something that's not going to adhere to the wound on a burn wound. And then you want to keep those, kind of irrigated to ease some of the discomfort. And so study up. What do you need to do first aid for first, second, and third degree burns? And then make sure you have all the equipment in your first aid kit to treat first, second, and third degree burns. You're going to want hydrocortisone cream for itch and dermatitis. And some of the other items that they recommend are on the next page. Oral antihistamine tablets, motion sickness, and potassium iodide. Now, potassium iodide, if you're over, I think it's 60, then they don't recommend that you take potassium iodide because all potassium iodide does is protect your thyroid from radiation. So those of us who are over 60, if we get radiation sickness and we get the possibility of radiation cancer in our thyroid, the time for that to show up and be a major cause of concern for us exceeds life expectancy. So over 60, it's not going to do you any good. However, under 60, do not take it prior to exposure to radioactive materials. So because it can have a negative effect if you're taking it when there is no actual radioactive materials around for it to absorb. So all of these things, as we talk about them, I keep telling you, everything has a positive and a negative. It has an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage of a lot of these is they do a great job treating the disease. The disadvantage is there are side effects, and you can develop immunity to it. And if you take it at the wrong time, or you take it when the disease is not present, you can do more damage than you're doing good. Okay, so then I said, hey, it just so happens that I am an affiliate with this company, and I really like their products. Okay, should I recommend people get this? Okay, and so should people have oral antibiotics in their med kit? So I want to read you exactly what ChatGPT told me. And so they said, so your question is, should you consider an emergency antibiotic system about the Jace Case emergency antibiotic kit? The kit provides a prescribed supply of systemic antibiotics, amoxicillin, you'll have to forgive me with the pronunciation. I can do Russian, but I can't do medical terminology. Amoxicillin, clavulinate, azithromycin. I don't have azithromycin in mine because I'm allergic to it. They substituted something else. Ciprofloxacin, doxycycline, and metronidazole are meant to treat a broad range of bacterial infections if you cannot access healthcare. It typically requires an online consultation with a physician and is intended as an emergency measure, not for routine use. Pros: access to a variety of prescription antibiotics in one package. Useful if healthcare access is unavailable, if you're in a remote location or it's a long-term outage. 3, it includes guidance or physician follow-up in many cases. Well, I want to tell you, physician follow-up probably won't exist in a grid down scenario, okay? So you're just going to have to depend upon the medication. However, there is a guidebook inside. And so with this guidebook, you can kind of diagnose what is the disease, without modern, I got all my own personal additives. So it's got this nice little kit that tells you how to diagnose and then how to dose the treatment that you're going to use for that disease. So great little kit. And I take mine to my physician every year. When I go in for my annual physical, I take this in with me. And I say, okay, let's take a look at the medications in it and see if they're all up to date. Do I need to get any of them? Do I need to call Jace and have any of them re-prescribed? No problem. You can do the same thing. So, cons. The antibiotic should only be used when truly indicated. Misuse will foster antibiotic resistance and could cause more harm than good. Number 2, it requires some medical oversight or consultation before their use and knowledge of correct indications, that's the symptoms, dosing, and risks. For example, I am so happy that I found out beforehand I'm allergic to azithromycin. I took it for an infection I had. I was going up to First Friday sale up in Northeast Texas. And by the time I got there, my tongue was so swollen, I couldn't lick the outside of my teeth. And I had to go to the emergency room, and they put me on a Benadryl IV drip for 24 hours to get rid of the amoxicillin that was in my body because I was having an allergic reaction to it. My throat was swollen, my tongue was swollen, I could not breathe. So they had to put me basically on kind of a nasal pharyngeal airway, and then at the same time an IV drip just so I could breathe. And that took about, well, I'm not going to say 24 hours. It took right about 20 hours maybe. But we won't have that available to us. So make sure you're up to date on what you're allergic to. So thank you, Pete. Great suggestion. And that's what we're talking about. He says, if you're allergic to antibiotics of any type, When you talk to the people at Jace, tell them your allergies. Tell them every allergy. Make sure they know which drugs you're allergic to or have a reaction to, even if it's a small one, because they can get increase over time. You don't want to take something that gets you an allergic reaction like I had. Pete, what do they call it? Anaphylactic. I went into anaphylactic shock is what they call it. And you won't have the medications to treat anaphylactic shock. So do not get into a case where you're taking a medication that you're allergic to, okay? Let me see. What is, oh, Suzanne, good evening. Well, welcome. The last doctor I had was the first to bother culturing infections. Every other doctor just guessed based on symptoms and guidelines. Yeah, I don't think I've had, no, I think almost everyone I do cultures. Yeah, they take some sort of a sample. And so Pete says that some antibiotics will crash your platelets too. So being forewarned is forearmed. Trimethoprim can do this. Pete, there's another thing that I've heard, which is that after you've taken a regimen of antibiotics, the best thing you can do for your body is to take a regimen of probiotics. Can you put a little comment about your thoughts about that in the comments as well? So Patricia Butler says those with lung disease might look at Amazon to purchase a small O2 machine. That's an oxygen generator and handheld nebulizer. Yes, you told me about that handheld nebulizer, and I did buy one. You should have seen it in my pantry haul here in the last 6 weeks or so. But make sure you get them so that they're battery operated and rechargeable, unless you're going to have an extension cord to a generator, whether that be like my Jackery or a 5 kW Honda like I have. You can plug into those, okay, but if we have a grid down situation, but make sure that you have a way of recharging it or of using it if it's a 120 volt electricity system. So that's going to require either a solar system, a turbine system, a water system, or a internal combustion system as far as a generation of electricity. Let me see. Okay, where are we? We're doing the cons of JACE. And the last one, in regulatory environments like the US, this is one legal way to obtain prescriptions in advance, but it's not the only way. A regular physician can also write emergency antibiotics or refills if you are traveling and tell them. So you can basically get an advanced system if you're afraid, I'm going to Mexico, I'm going to be drinking the water, I'm afraid of getting some sort of disease as a result of the water, they can give you a prescription for that. Okay. So then it says, are you worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth the money? Should I get it? Determining whether or not it's a post-apocalyptic world. Emergency antibiotics would be extremely beneficial, but only if you have a clear plan for how to use them. Number two, you know how to recognize the conditions that truly require antibiotics and treating a bacterial infection, not a viral infection. And number three, you store and track the expiration dates properly. I think all three of those you can accomplish. So I think if you can afford it, do it. If you can't afford it, I would say we're getting to that point where I would probably take out a loan, to be honest with you. So putting it all together, OTC meds to prioritize, pain and fever reducers, antidiarrheals, rehydration, laxatives, allergy, antihistamines, topical antibiotic ointments, and respiratory and digestive system relief. So prescription antibiotic systems will fill that medical gap. Absolutely. It's going to be, remember, especially if we're going to go back to, and here's the tough thing. A lot of those leading causes of death, as far as pandemics and things like that, are viral in nature, not necessarily bacterial. So you have to take that into consideration. It is a major expense to get a Jace case. I will tell you that. It's not something you can give up your lunch tomorrow for. Okay, so now viral versus bacterial, the big divide. Remember that antibiotics only work against bacterial infections. They do not work against viral infections. So things that are usually viral that don't require antibiotics or antibiotics would be no good for: common cold, influenza, sore throat, most coughs, most bronchitis, the cough, the 2019 version, most sinus congestions that last under 10 days, and most cases of diarrhea. Clues that something is viral: a runny nose plus cough plus body aches, symptoms improving slowly on their own, the whole household gets it all at one time, and the clear mucus in the early stages. Now, on the other hand, bacterial. Clues suggesting bacterial infection: a high fever lasting more than 3 days, symptoms worsening after initial improvement. So you get sick, you kind of show a little bit of an improvement, then all of a sudden it goes up again. That's more than likely bacterial. Localized pain on one side of the face, one side of the body, whatever, one area of the lung. Mucus is pus colored. It's not clear mucus anymore. Redness spreading around a wound, or you see red lines going up, kind of like waves, a spider web away from the wound. Swelling and warmth and increasing pain. Situations where antibiotics are often appropriate: pneumonia, high fever, shortness of breath, productive cough, chest pain, breathing, chest pain with breathing, fatigue out of proportion, cellulitis or skin infection, a wound infection, urinary tract infection, has a higher propensity in females than it does in males. Dental abscesses, those are all things you might want to cure or to treat with a antibiotic. Okay. Realistic tape on prepper antibiotics for short-term disasters. Antibiotics rarely become necessary if the hospitals are still open. For long-term systemic collapse, having antibiotics will be life-saving. But the number of scenarios where you correctly self-diagnose and treat is smaller than most people imagine. Be more viral infections than there will be bacterial. However, you also have to remember there's going to be a higher case of infections as a result of cuts, and sepsis, which are the infection of the skin and the dermis. That's going to be higher. So those two are definitely going to require some sort of oral antibiotics. However, good sanitation, good taking care of your water, having potable water, treating it, good wound care management, having good vaccination status prior to SHTF will prevent far more deaths than just having the antibiotic kit by itself. Okay. So that's kind of where we are. Now I want to just show you some of the things that you can do. There will be links for all of these in the notes. Get Alton's Pandemic Preparedness Guide. Great differentiator as far as helping you to identify the difference between viral and bacterial infections. Great book. Absolutely love it. Although this one I think is even better. So this is, and you can tell, Alton's Antibiotics and Infectious Disease Guide, and it goes through everything to include what regimen that you can use for each one. He also goes here into some homemade solutions for antibiotics, and he talks a little bit about some of the homeopathic things that you can do. This one does have a lot of homeopathic solutions in it. This is where there is no doctor. I really like this book. This has a lot of things in it. For example, for dehydration, I think that's this one. No, it's this one. I have it marked. Yeah. Dehydration. It says a good food beats having to liquid rehydrate, which beats having an IV. So as long as you can get people eating good food, that's going to be a more benefit to their body to recover from dehydration. You know, things like tomato soup and things like that, that are going to add both the liquid portion as well as the sustenance portion, that's going to have more value than just drinking something like liquid IV, which is going to be better than having an IV out in the field. Gosh, this is a phenomenal book. And then, of course, Dr. Alton's field guide, emergency field guide. At some point, even if you get the Jace case, you're going to run out of antibiotics. If that's the case, then you're going to need to come up with some herbal remedies. This is a fantastic book. It's not that expensive. The Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine. What can you do homeopathic-wise to create your own antibiotics and stuff using herbs? You can also do that with this book, Natural Medicine and Herbal Remedies for Preppers. It's another fantastic book. The link for it's going to be down below as well. And then, of course, if you want to go the route of essential oils, then the Essential Oils Pocket Reference book. I have a link for this down below. Let me tell you something. The link down below, I believe this book is like $70, okay, if you buy it new. Go to eBay. I don't make any money off of it, but go to eBay. I got this for $4 on eBay, shipping included, okay? So you can get this, and it's a fantastic little book. It's got diagnoses, it's got treatments, it's got everything in it. Add this to your kit. It's going to be phenomenal. I think you'll really, really like it. So that's kind of where we are with all that stuff. So now then, the next question that we need to address this evening, and then I want to get back into the chat and follow up with everything and see, because you guys always do such a great job with the chat. The next one is, the next question, number 116. If help is not available, how do I, what do I do to prevent dehydration? What can I do to prevent dehydration, injured, or ill victims? So, like I said, soups, good broth soups, and is going to be clear liquids. But if you don't have the broths available to you, then you can always go the liquid hydration, the liquid IV, or some of the others that they have in this book, Where There Is No Doctor. They talk about how to make your own version of liquid oral hydration, and that's 1 liter of water. Let me find it here. 1 liter of water plus 1 teaspoon of sugar plus 1 teaspoon of salt and 8 teaspoons of sugar. Oh, they've got temperature monitoring. I mean, this is a phenomenal book. I just really like it. Where is that? Where is that? I know it's in here. Oh, here it is. Okay. So it gives you 2 choices on how to hydrate people. Number 1 is with sugar and salt. So 1 liter of clean water. Okay. So make sure you've run it through some sort of a filtration system, boiled it, whatever. Add half of a level teaspoon of salt and 8 level teaspoons of sugar. And that's to 1 liter of water. If you're going to use powdered cereal and salt, now cereal is basically going to be the baby food formula, okay, powdered baby food formula. So if you're going to use that powdered cereal like that and salt, then the same thing. In 1 clean liter of water, you're going to add a half a teaspoon of salt and 8 heaping teaspoons of that formula, okay? And that will be your hydration liquid. And then you get them to drink that over a slow period of time. So that answers that question on hydration. So that's pretty much it for this evening. Now you know why I only wanted to cover 2 topics this evening. Let's get back up here and see where we are as far as the chat. Let me see. So Fioxerus is talking about having a ped bag, pediatrics, I'm sure. Yeah, we didn't talk about child labor or labor and delivery or anything like that. I've delivered 1 baby when I was driving ambulances before they went into EMTs and things like that, and medics and all that kinds of stuff. And I was just advanced first aid from the Red Cross, and I delivered 1. don't want to do that again. So Pete answered my question. Probiotics are a good idea after taking systemic, orally administered antibiotics to regrow your intestinal flora that the antibiotics killed off. So remember that a lot of times when you're taking these, like I said, anytime you do treat one thing, there is a side effect to it. So when you take an antibiotic, you're not just killing off the bad stuff in your gut, you're also killing off the stuff that kills off the bad stuff naturally. So now you have to rebuild that by taking a probiotic after you've completed the regimen of antibiotics, so that now you're restoring your body back to its ability to fight off that bacteria in the future. Suzanne says she bought Primatene Mist about 2 years ago. Need to check it for expiration. It may break down over time. I think, yes, please do. And do me a favor and then let us know in one of our future meetings, because I think it only loses its effectiveness over time. I don't think it won't be bad. Just you may need, instead of 2 puffs, you may need 4 puffs. But do me a favor. Once you have clarified that with your physician, come back on and let us know. Do a follow-up with us, and so that we can make sure we pass that on to other people. Diet has a lot to do with diabetes and heart disease. Type 2 diabetes, diet has a lot to do with. Type 1 diabetes, diet has a lot as far as sustaining blood sugar when you're on an insulin regimen. But one of my pet peeves is people say diabetes, and typically most times they're going to talk about type 2. And type 2 and type 1 are not the same thing, and they're not treated the same way. Type 1, I forget the gland, is totally dead and produces no insulin. Whereas with type 2, there's still some insulin being produced. So, type 2 is far more diet dependent as far as prevention. But if you have type 1, diet's not going to change prevention at all. You're going to be insulin dependent. Let me see. I'm not sure if anyone here is a type 2 diabetic, but there are OTC supplements that can help for long-term med storage when metformin can't be found. Absolutely correct. Thank you, Pete. One of those is there's a cinnamon regimen that they have found works fairly well. I'm going to also suggest people have petroleum jelly, Vaseline, absolutely, as part of their preps. Tons of uses, including making skincare gel by mixing it with an appropriate amount of an antibiotic for wounds. Great advice, Pete. Here's a little secret. I had cancer cut off the back of my hand, and you can't see where it was. The cancer they cut off was the size of a $50. And so they left it open. It was totally open. And the doctor had me rub petroleum jelly inside the wound and cover it with the sterile dressing. I did that for 3 months, and there's no scar. And the dermis has totally grown back. So yes, Pete, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Petroleum jelly is a fantastic thing. Do not use petroleum jelly, however, for a burn. Okay, so totally different regimen as far as how we're going to treat that. So don't use petroleum jelly for a burn, but do use it mixed with an antibiotic for a topical antibiotic, okay, for any other kind of wound other than a burn. Yes, where there is no dentist, there's a companion to that one. However, we didn't discuss dental this evening. I was more concerned about other things. But remember, you're absolutely right, Kaylin. It probably should have been addressed because an abscess infection in the tooth can be a cause of death. And so if you let that go and you don't treat it, so you're going to treat the infection with antibiotics. But if you don't treat the abscess and remove the tooth, then that cause of that abscess is going to continue. So yes, so you have to learn how to remove a tooth as well. I'm this close to buying a dental kit over the course of the last weekend. I didn't, but I probably should at some point. Okay, let me see. So Little Blown Pepper has some bone broth sachets for her bag. They replace the bouillon cubes. See, now she's thinking the exact same thing, okay? That the number one way to rehydrate somebody is with a soup type of a treatment. So absolutely. Yes, there are some baby rice cereals that are fantastic. And you could also use that as another type of cereal if you wanted to mix that cereal one we were talking about. So that's going to be a half a teaspoon of salt and 8 teaspoons of that rice cereal in a liter of water. And that would be a good rehydration fluid as well. Well, thank you, Love Son. We are so happy you're here. And if you join us again next week, we'll probably make you a blue person just like everybody else. Pancreas, thank you, Kaylan. That's what I was trying to think. The pancreas is the one that produces the insulin. So they can be healthy, they can be ill, which is type 2 diabetic, or they can be dead, which is a type 1 diabetic. So Rob, yes, make good friends with a dentist. Absolutely. And that's one of the things we got to make sure we take care of ahead of time. Right now, if you've got cavities, get them taken care of. If you've got any kind of a chronic disease, make sure you get it taken care of. If you're obese, take care of it. If you are out of shape, take care of it. There are a lot of prophylactic things, and prophylactic means preventive. So there's a lot of things you can do that are preventive ahead of time to prepare your body better for what's going to be happening here sometime in the near future. So there's a saying, mens sana in corpore sano. So what's in your mind is a result of what's in your body. So mens sana in corpore sano, which is Latin from the Stoic philosophers. And what that says is your mind only functions when your body is tuned. So if you are letting your body go, you're also letting your mind go. And so one of the best ways to strengthen your mind is to make sure you have a body that is fit for what's going to be happening. Okay. Wow. Okay. We ran overtime. I thought I might be right at the edge, but we ran overtime. Yes, I agree with you, Phioxerus. Dental insurance sucks, to put it bluntly. So thank you all for being here. Check out the links for the books that I recommend. Check out my Jace case in the links down in the show notes. Strongly recommend you get them. A competitor to Jace case that is a very good company as well is Contingency Medical. They have the exact same products basically. It's a copycat, good company. I just happen to be with Jace and like their products. I also like their first aid kit. Hint, Jace, if you want to send me your new first aid kit to evaluate, I would be happy to do that. But anyhow, gosh, everybody take care. Oh, I wanted to announce one last thing before we quit. Saturday night at 7:30 Central, Saturday night, 7:30 Central, we're doing our first live panel discussion of the Conflicted series. So we're going to have two women and one man right now. I would like to have another man from the West Coast area, west of the mountains, to join us and be the fourth panelist. I've asked Rudy, the Alaska prepper, And I've asked a couple other friends, city prepping, a couple others out on the West Coast, haven't gotten a response. If you are west of the Rockies, I could use a male from west of the Rockies. I'm trying to get wide diversity as far as who my people are on the panel. Shoot me an email, coldwarprepper@outlook.com. Let me know you're interested. But anyhow, 7:30. I've got 2 females right now, 1 male. John Grammer, the author. I've got Tamara Lightheart, who owns the Prepper Communities website. Fantastic website. And so she's going to be one of the females on that we're using. I'm also using Heather Ruth, and she has one of the larger preparedness Facebook groups, preparing for the long term. And so those are my 3 people right now. We're going to tackle the Tour Club's question on conflicted Saturday night at 7:30. So if you want to join us live, get your questions in there, give us your opinions on what you would do. And then after that, we're going to have a discussion about rebuilding America after SHTF. So with that, remember everybody, we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other because togetherness is the key. Take care. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like and forward subscribe. Bye-bye.